highly fractured place back together again. Not on those issues that divide us and separate us and pit us against one another, but on those things that can bring us together. And in Crockett today, we talked about the ability to see a doctor. Something that we may take for granted in our lives here in Nacogdoches, that I certainly do in my hometown of El Paso. As I was entering that town hall, or that roundtable meeting in Crockett, I got a call from my youngest sister. She said, "Hey, Mom is in the hospital." You know, if you can't call your mom's in the hospital, immediately call, check on my mom. Her temperature's a little bit higher than we want it to be. She's had this pain that she can't explain. She was in the ER waiting to see a doctor. So grateful that my sister was there with her, that she had a hospital that she could go to. When I was listening to people in Crockett and folks who came in from Liberty and other parts of rural Texas, they were sharing with me what it's like when you can't go to the hospital, when you have to drive hundreds of miles or many hours just to see a provider or a specialist for your kid, or what it's like if you cannot get mental health care help. You have schizophrenia or bipolar disorder or clinical depression. I was looking at the statistics before the meeting today in Crockett, and mental health care access is lower in East Texas than it is in almost any other part of the state. Mental health care outcomes are worse in East Texas than they are in almost any other part of the state. In fact, I was in Lufkin back in 2018. The first time I heard somebody say this, I've heard it so many times since then. Someone came to a town hall like this and they said, "Beto, I want you to know that my brother gets arrested on purpose so that he can go to jail. It's the one place that he can be taken care of. He's schizophrenic, uninsured. His only chance to get prescribed a psychotropic medication when he needs it is to be under the care of law enforcement. And this is what this guy has to do to get help. We know others who buy drugs off the streets to treat themselves, others who are not with us anymore. And it's hard for us to talk about, but we must acknowledge it and confront it and face it, or we're not going to change it. This is the kicker for me. It's not like this happened to us, or just happens to be our fate if we live in East Texas or in a rural community. Over the last 10 years, we have rejected the expansion of Medicaid in the state of Texas. And what that's meant is that there's $100 billion, not imaginary, but real, your tax dollars and my tax dollars that we paid into the federal government through income taxes that are sitting there, or more likely than not, going to other states for their Medicaid expansion programs and not coming to Texas. And what that means is that today we're the least insured state in the United States of America. People are regularly dying of diabetes, of the flu, of curable cancers in this state for no other reason than they don't have insurance, cannot see a doctor, nor can they fill a prescription. This is the 9th largest economy on the face of the planet, and we're within the wealthiest country that the world has ever known. It is not for lack of resources, it is for lack of political will to do the right thing. And I'll tell you this, we know that when that uninsured person who has schizophrenia or diabetes or a cancer that has gone untreated finally can bear it no longer and either gets arrested on purpose or takes themselves to an emergency room, their outcomes are not going to be as good because they have delayed and functionally denied care for so long. It's going to be a whole hell of a lot more expensive to treat that person because it's not as easy to take care of them now that the condition has persisted and expanded and metastasized over the months or years that they went without the ability to see a doctor. But when that bill comes due, it's $30,000, it's $130,000, it's 6 figures, they're in no way able to pay for it. But it's not like that bill goes uncollected. You and I, as property taxpayers, will see that on our hospital district bill. You and I who are lucky enough, and that's all we are as far as I'm concerned, lucky enough to have health insurance, we'll see it in higher rates that we pay. If they try to tell you that expanding Medicaid and ensuring that more people are insured is expensive, you tell them it may be, but it's a lot less expensive than not expanding Medicaid and not ensuring that people can see a doctor. We should be able to get this done, right? And And it's not something that Democrats are excited about. It's not something that Republicans are excited about. It's not an issue for independents. This is all of us across the state of Texas. They introduced a bill to expand Medicaid the last legislative session. There were Republicans who were ready to vote for this. Republican business groups who were supporting it, probably because of that property tax element that I just described. There was broad bipartisan support to do the right thing, to bring this state together. But for some reason, our current governor, and I honestly don't know the reason why, wouldn't let this pass, stood in the way, and was more interested in the issues that divide us and pit us against one another. Like this idea that no woman in the state of Texas can be trusted to make her own medical decisions, to her own reproductive health care, to decide her future, her own fate, her fortune.